there. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Start again now.
No. No. Let's just keep going with that one, shall we? Oh, no.
You're a wicked man. You're a wicked man. And start again. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with myself, Al.
It's going to be a good one, this is.
And my co-host, Jules. Welcome,
here
guys.
already, you two.
I know. So today on the show, we've got Caroline Lewis from Help at Hand Dog Behaviour and Training. Welcome to the show, Caroline.
Hi, both. How are you?
Very good, thank you. After that successful start.
That was so brilliant. Before we hit record, guys, Jules was like, I'll do it like this. And I was like, yes, hit record. And she went, and I do believe you just introduced yourself as Alex and me as your co-host, Jules. I'm pretty sure
I did purposely.
Nice. I like it. Thanks for joining us today, Caroline.
No problem at all. No, it's lovely. How are you both doing anyway in lockdown and with the floods? You all right?
Yes, thankfully.
I'm unaffected. I'm in Sutton Grange. I'm away from that, but there's a lot of people that are friends of mine that are close to us, especially with the show as well, that have been affected, and it's very sad to see. I mean, is it weird to say that we're going to have to expect this every year now? We just have to put the buildings all on stilts, I guess. I don't know what we're going to do.
To get better flood defences.
Yeah,
I should think. Mind you, though, I've already seen this morning, House Coffee, they've put a post there open already. They must have done an amazing job overnight on a mop-up, I suppose. But, yeah, they're open today. Bless them. Yeah, and the butchers that are right on the corner opposite the school, by the school.
And the deli.
Yep. So,
wow.
Getting on with it.
God bless them.
Colum showing everybody how it's done. Exactly,
yeah.
Keep going.
So, Caroline, you work with dogs. Is it just dogs or is it all animals? All
dogs.
Animals?
Yeah, dogs. Predominantly. Yeah.
And what is it? What is your speciality then? What is it that you do with dogs?
Okay. As a behaviourist, you are trained to work with all types of behaviour and dogs of all ages. So it can be puppies right through to the older dogs displaying different types of behaviour, sometimes through cognitive dysfunctions. But I suppose my special areas are rescue and deaf dogs as well. And I kind of fell into deaf dogs. For me, I hadn't really thought that there was a perception that deaf dogs were a problem, because it certainly had never really cropped up for me. But when I was working with certainly within rescue centres, and I was seeing how many deaf dogs were there, but also how long they were there for, I was just like, oh, hang on a minute, there's something not quite right here. And some of them would be there, the most amazing temperaments with dogs and people, and just really lovely laid back dogs. And they could be there for 18 months plus in rescue because people were worried about the fact they couldn't hear. So I just set about almost like having fun and just going, okay, let's just see how we can get on and get training with them. And they're just amazing, absolutely amazing when you change how you work.
How do you work with a dog that you can't hail then? You know? Yeah,
because we're very conditioned into thinking we need to work with dogs with our voice, aren't we? I mean, that's how we've been taught right back in the day when we had good old Barbara Woodhouse on the telly in a tweed, telling all the dogs to sit and stay. And we always had to be very rigid, and we didn't give anything away, and the dog had to just like be focused all the time. And of course, that isn't going to work with a deaf dog. And actually, well, as Jules knows, the way that I work with dogs is actually very much about body language. And when you realise that a deaf dog is constantly watching how you move and how you interact, and that is how you work with it. Honestly, it's that simple. It's that simple. It's just, if I want a deaf dog to stop, I'm literally just doing that. If I want a deaf dog to come to me, then I'm just going backwards like this. But I'm making it fun. I'm making it fun. We can be very serious in the way we're meant to be. But as soon as we start to smile, if we're trying to train, it's just like getting the dog to come back to you. Your whole body language changes and becomes more welcoming. So a deaf dog who has gone into rescue will most definitely have been misunderstood and will have a negative thought process about people generally. So it's important that we are like, yeah, come on, let's have fun. Now, and there's breeds right across the spectrum that I've worked with that are deaf, Rottweilers to English setters to Staffies to all sorts. Yeah, they're great. They're in stock.
One of the things that's probably going through people's minds is, particularly with rescue dogs as well, I suppose even with puppies, but how do you establish, or how does the rescue know in the first place that the dog that survived is deaf? How is that even established?
The dogs that are going into rescue, so think if they're going in younger, thinking of a Rottie. Okay, so he came in through a vet because he'd gone into the vets to be put to sleep because the owner was just really frustrated because he considered the dog to be stupid. And that's a really common red flag for me when they consider dogs to be stupid. It won't listen, it won't do anything I say. Now, okay, if a dog is very wound up and very stressed, they aren't necessarily going to be able to do it because of the stress hormones impacting their ability to focus and concentrate. So I do divide it into two. But once I realise that the dog is quite calm and it's still not able to do it, they can either go through something called the Bayer test, which is your brain stem auditory evoke response test. That's catchy, isn't it? Which they tend to do to puppies around 4 to 8 weeks old. So that's your only recognised test for a deaf dog.
This is carried out by vets?
Carried out by vets, or it is generally, or there are some breeders, I think, that will do it. But generally, it's a bit of kit where you have 3 needles. This isn't going to sound very good. I don't like it anyway. They insert one along the top of the skull, one down, a needle down either side here, and they clip electrodes on with wires, which then goes into another bit of kit. And basically they run a series of clicks through at different sound levels. And then they're able to see from the printout or the readout whether there's any response from either ear. So if there's a flat line, then they know that particular ear has no hearing at all. And then if there's anything that goes up and down, then they'll know that, okay, in this instance, the dog is unilaterally deaf. So it's deaf in one ear, but not the other, or bilaterally deaf, where it's totally deaf. I mean, I've got a deaf dog, as you know, Jules, so he's totally deaf. And that's congenital deafness, where they are born, but basically without hearing. So, but then if the rescue isn't sure about whether a dog is deaf or not, and that's kind of where I started to work with so many, then basically I can be called in and I'll work with them individually. And it could just be something, once I've got their stress levels down, then basically I'll just do some really common things that I would expect a dog to be able to hear and respond to. It might just be a slap on my leg, or like a sound where dogs would normally be like, oh, what's that? Because I might get a treat. And deaf dogs are just like, la, la, la. Can't hear you. And some people think if you go behind them and clap really loud, then that will be a check for them, or if you bang your foot on the floor. But what people forget is the only thing in their body that isn't working is their hearing. So if you bang your foot hard on the floor, they will pick up on the vibration through their feet. Yeah. And they can also pick up vibration through the air, through the hairs on their body. Their whiskers are more tuned into sound. I mean, for me, they become like some kind of super dog, really. Yeah, they're good.
That really angered me, by the way, when you said somebody gone to euthanize a dog because it's stupid.
It's really common. I'd like to say that's very rare that I come across that, but it's really common.
I am not a dog person. I'm not a pet person, really. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I used to be, but not so much anymore. Okay. But that still angers me. Oh my God. That angers me. Sorry. I just had to display that.
It's sad.
It is really sad. And it kind of shows the misunderstandings that there are out there. And I think that's why I decided to set up this course, just to see if I could help people understand that actually a deaf dog is not to be frightened of. And some of the rubbish that's put out there by some quite high up organisations, because breeders don't want to admit that their line has deaf dogs in it. Absolutely not, which is why a lot either go into rescue centres or are actually put to sleep at just weeks old, because they don't want them to go out there. Honestly, they don't want them out there.
Monstrous. That's monstrous.
That's why I do the course, because I want people to go. It's not that I'm saying everyone should have a deaf dog, because it's not about that. It's like everyone is drawn to a dog for the right reasons, but it's like, don't be put off because a dog is deaf.
Yeah.
It's like, as long as you can use ethical, compassionate, force-free training with a deaf dog and get brilliant results. Absolutely.
Are there like tools that you can use to make things easier? Is like, I don't know, something that vibrates on the collar or something? I don't know. Is there anything that you can use to help?
I mean, there are some that would go down that road, but what you've got to remember is that if their hearing isn't working, but the rest of the body has become super, super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for me, it's all right. I wouldn't necessarily let a deaf dog off in, say, the quarry in town. Unless I knew I'd got some good attention from it, but I would certainly have it out on a long line, and then it's literally as you can just move your shoulder and the dog's going, oh, what are you doing? And then you can just put your hand out and then it comes along with you. And then you can do recall. I mean, I certainly have done recall off lead training with deaf dogs in a secure field, and it's amazing, because once you've got them sort of calm enough so that they are able to really think and listen with their whole body, then ultimately you can do anything you want. And recall as well, because I've had one at the other end of the field and I've just gone like this and started to go backwards, but I've done this movement and the dog was looking the other way. And because they feel the air move on their hair, just not forget, he just went, oh, you want me to come back? And came hooling down. That was that field at Moorlands, Condover, so you know the size of that.
Yeah, that's a big field,
And because I make it fun, and it's just like, oh my God, you're amazing for coming back. They're like, God, I am.
No, you're a lady that definitely knows what you're talking about. May I ask sort of like how long you've been doing this for? So like in this behaviour.
I was first trained in 2012. So 10 years, yeah. And then I loved it. That was a lady called Sheila Harper up in Cannock. And then I just felt I wanted to go into more detail. Always been someone who I embrace a challenge, but I always think there's a way of doing something. I didn't like to see dogs in rescue that were just condemned because they were very, very stressy or hyperactive or too reactive. And I'm just like, but there's a reason why. What's the root cause? We're looking at it the wrong way. So then I went on to do another course up at Durham with a lady called Turid Rugas, who's from Norway.
She's quite famous, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Was really lucky because she's only ever taught in the UK once, and she teaches worldwide. Been really lucky. And she's just superb because she's dealt with dogs that have been from fighting gangs and that sort of thing. And that's the kind of thing I want to work with, or not necessarily target that sector, but I want to know that if I am presented with a dog like that, or has been used for bait, or is deaf, or has become reactive, or for whatever reason, I want to know that I can understand it. And I'm always doing more work, more courses on that kind of thing. Because you can understand it, then you can help people. Because yes, I'm here to help the dog, but I'm here to help the owners, because sometimes they have no hope, or they feel there is no hope, and it's just like, but there is. To find a different way.
Alex, what have you got to say?
Press the talk button.
It's fine. I love this. When it comes to misunderstood breeds, is that an issue? With staffies and the pit bulls and the things you hear, even things as like Dobermans and Alsatians, because they're scary looking dogs, but they're not. They're beautiful dogs.
They're like anything. Any dog can go wrong if it's misunderstood and it's actually not listened to. Okay, some breeds may go there a little bit faster because they are bred generally for hunting or guarding or working and that sort of thing. And there's definitely a big push at the moment to your fluffy, more domesticated breeds.
Yappers.
Cabochons. Hey?
Your yappers, I call them. Yap, yap.
There's a few of them around. Yeah. There is a few of them around. And of course, and that's where people are at. They want something that they can cuddle and just take out for nice little walks and that sort of thing. But even they can go wrong if the breeding isn't looked at, or they're inbred. They're not always that straightforward. But also what people need to bear in mind is that when you've got a dog that is bred to be more domestic and domesticated and want to be around us, how are they going to feel when we're not there? There's more separation anxiety and general anxiety in those dogs than there are in your more traditional, your working breeds.
And
like your collies and that sort of stuff, I guess.
Collie, and your German Shepherds and Rotties, and all right, they can have their own things go on. There's, indiscriminate breeding and that sort of thing can have an impact on their own behaviour. But yeah.
It really is interesting when you start talking about different breeds and behaviours and things like that. But then there's also the speculation between people. That's always jab people with a stick if they got a particular breed that people disagree with or something. I have had an incident myself when I worked for a rescue that's no longer around. It was by Condover, and they had a lot of Rottweilers in, and people do get worried because they're big. They're big dogs and you can't read their faces. So all you're looking at is this giant black dog that's at least 40 kilos wandering around. And part of my role was to take these dogs out when they were up to it, when I knew that they were okay, and take them out into public. And I remember going somewhere with one dog who was just a dream. I have to say, he was just a joy to take out. And I took him around one of the retail parks, was the one at Mill Brace. And we were wandering along and I could see this guy coming towards us. And I thought, will he move out the way in a minute, surely? But no, he came right at me, basically to provoke a response in the dog. Because the dog kind of looked at me and it was literally like, do you need me to do anything? And I was like, no, it's fine. I'll just do a hand signal. And he went, all right, I'm going to carry on looking in TK Maxx's window. And this guy came up to me and God, he gave me some abuse.
Really?
Yeah, for walking that breed. Nobody likes those effing breeds around here. And blah, blah, blah. And I just thought, oh my goodness. And it shocked me. I knew it went on. But this dog did not put a foot wrong. And I just looked at this guy and was just like, oh, right, okay. And I thought, actually, you're the one who's in the wrong here. But I thought, it's a good job I hadn't brought maybe one of some of the others out.
Exactly.
But,
yeah. What are some of the current sort of behaviour issues you've sort of perhaps seen in the last year or so with more people being at home with their pets, or people then suddenly having to go back to work and not being at home? Well, I say, what are you seeing? Are you seeing anything?
There's a massive increase in reactivity, actually.
Right.
Those tolerances are lower because their stress levels are higher. Because we're around home more, we're more stressed, particularly if we've got loved ones who've caught it, or we're worried about our jobs and paying the bills. We're walking our dogs more than we were because we want to keep fit and get out. If the children are around, then the children are being noisier, obviously, and they're maybe not doing the homeschooling that they should be. And what we forget is the dog needs a lot of sleep. Dogs generally, when we're out, will just go, happy days, and sleep for hours. They'll just take themselves up and they'll sleep for hours. And they might wake up or they might go out for a wee when we get home at lunchtime, and then we give them a chew and then off they go again. And that's how the balance has been, because it's like, yes, we may walk them, but they've had that necessary downtime. But if you remove that downtime, basically the dog's ability to cope can only go on for so long. Like us, we can only keep going at a certain threshold of stress for a certain period of time before actually it just all goes a bit pear-shaped. And then, of course, people then go, oh, no, my dog's reactive. I mean, I had 3 calls just last night. Honest to God, 3 calls last night and 3 messages on Facebook alone last night for exactly the same thing. So we've got to the end of the week, and of course COVID's not going anywhere soon, and people are getting disappointed, and dogs are picking up on our stress, and then we're wanting more from the dog. And it's like, right, okay, I'll feel better if I go out for a good walk. You need to go out for a walk, but leave your dog doing a treat search or chew in the garden. It's just back at home and just go out and get the steam and the stress out yourself, and then go back and just chill out with your dog.
I'm seeing a lot of things on Facebook. Like, I have genuinely seen these, especially in like neighborhood groups. I've seen a few in Telford, a couple in Shrewsbury, of people that do encourage their dogs to be aggressive, attacking other people's dogs while they're out on the walk. There seems to be a rise in this. I don't know. Is it maybe it's because there are more people at home, like you say, so there are more people walking, or people just become more vocal about it? There seems to be a lot of this difference in people. And then the comment sections on Facebook are kind of like, well, train your dog better then, or do this. And it's just this ongoing like battle of how people should train their dogs and how people shouldn't train their dogs. It's just a nightmare.
It's really difficult. And I get worried by it, actually, because not just those incidents that are on the increase, because we've got more dogs, but also we're not able to go out as far with our dogs as maybe we used to. So then there are more in a certain area. But of course, then people aren't aware of the signs that a dog can give off before it's feeling more and more threatened and there's nowhere else to go. Or they just think, well, it's all right, my dog's off lead, it's fine. But actually, if the dog on the lead isn't, it absolutely is not fine. Yeah. You know, and there's a real problem with that. But then I also get worried because people will contact trainers or talk amongst each other about what they can do and how they can support and what they need to be doing. But, you know, it's just an opinion on Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's not a qualified response. And actually, I've now stopped putting any comments out there unless I think, God, actually, that needs to stop because you're heading down the wrong way.
Is there a definitive off the lead rule book? Is there a few rules that people can follow about walking the dogs off the lead? Are they allowed to? Are there areas where it's better to? Like, what would you say on that?
I think the general rule is if you see a dog on lead, your dog goes on a lead. It's honestly, it is that black and white. It's a respect thing. If the dog is off lead, it tends to be quite wound up generally, and maybe the dog on lead, it could be in pain. You don't know. You may have had an operation in lead. So when a dog is in pain, it can be more reactive. It can be worried around other dogs, because generally they can be. It can be worried about people coming towards them. It can be that people have got to realise the lead is for support. That's what the lead is there for. Yes, okay, it controls, but it's ultimately there for support. So if you are walking your dog and there's a dog on lead, you put yours on lead. It's not good enough to say my dog is fine around other dogs. That isn't the point. You're putting the other dog in a position that it can't get out of. With regards to generally being off lead, the rules are that, okay, somewhere like the quarry is okay, you know, your woodland and your countryside, as long as you respect sheep and highway codes and all of that sort of thing. But if you are by a road or near a road, your dog must go on a lead. Mm-hmm. And that's law, because if it caused an accident, you can be sued up and down the hills for it. Yeah. And again, it's not enough that your dog is lovely. It's just, you know, dogs can be very eyesight driven, particularly if they have been on the go a lot, and they're very adrenaline driven. So it's only going to be going nicely down the pavement. You think, God, I'm nearly home, and it sees something over there, and it's just like ping. Yeah, gone. That's the thing, isn't it? It's about the attention span, and it is, you know, for me as a dog walker, when I'm walking clients' dogs, pretty much, obviously, most, all bar one or two, they're always on the lead, because that's just part of my policy with those dogs. And the amount of people that, you know, obviously come towards me off lead, and then it's like, it's all right, my dog's okay. Like, yep, but this one might not be. And so I would be very grateful if you could put the dog back on the lead, which some people, you know, obviously respect and do, and then others don't, and just give you a bit of a grumble and wander off. But the thing about I suppose it's even that whole letting a dog off, you know, near woodlands and that sort of thing. I suppose, again, unless you can guarantee their recall, you have to be a bit careful with that, don't you? Because there's been a lot of dogs. And again, I think this was over the summer. A lot of people were losing. Well, you still see it now, don't you? But they've lost a dog. A dog's been lost because it's run off. And that's because, you know,
you've let the dog off in an area where, yep, there goes a rabbit shooting by, there goes a fox, there goes a deer, there goes a pheasant, there goes your dog. And, you know, obviously chasing a pheasant is far more exciting than you bellowing across a field trying to get your dog back.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing I always say to people, it's just like, you can't train recall enough. And don't wait to train recall until you're outside, when you're already kind of fighting a losing battle. If you're just starting the training, you start your recall training in the house, house to garden, garden to house, upstairs to downstairs. You absolutely nail it. Then you go out and the dog's on a longer line, and then you can build up to then being off lead. But only it's not a disaster. You know, my dog, all right, my one is deaf, so he doesn't tend to go off lead, but they're on a long line. But my other one doesn't go off the lead all the time. And that's not because of recall. It's just because sometimes we just do different walks.
Yes.
You know, they're not, no dog is hard done by keeping it on the lead. But also we've got to bear in mind we're also in a culture at the moment where so many dogs are being stolen. So it's, if you can't guarantee your dog will come back when you call it and you can't keep it in sight at the moment, I would definitely be saying you should keep it on a lead, really.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that experience.
No, not at all.
That thing where your dog's gone for different reasons.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
And I think you were saying about with like dog, you know, the reactivity at the moment. And there are some dogs that obviously, you know, are anxious or worried. And something I'm fully aware of, but I know a lot of people aren't aware of, is the yellow coat. You know, wearing a yellow coat. So Al, obviously you know, you're not sure of that, are you? Have you not heard of that? So if you saw a dog out walking with its owner and it was in a yellow coat, or it had a yellow collar, yellow harness, or yellow lead, would that tell you anything?
It's either it's a working dog or it's a dog in training. No?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
At least you've put a thought process behind why that colour, rather than must be the owner's favourite colour.
Yeah.
So you've put a thought process there, which is, go on, Caroline.
It's basically means the dog's nervous. Do not approach. I need space. Ultimately, it's like, I need space. Yeah. And this is what we need to remember. It's just like we forget that a dog still needs to be a dog. And dogs naturally communicate by watching each other's body language. It's not just a deaf dog thing. All dogs will do it. So if we take that ability away, because as a species, we're very direct. So it's like we're talking to each other and I'll look you in the eye and I'm sat face on to the screen. That's a human thing. So if I saw someone in the street I wanted to meet, I would go up to them. I may slow down slightly, but I would still go up to them directly. Dogs generally will curve around each other. They will give each other more space. They will slow down. They will head dip. They will stop and sniff. They will just, they just take their time. Some will go a bit faster, but generally, if the dogs have been through the training, that's how they would do it. So when we take away that ability and we walk faster, and we make the dogs be on shorter leads and come on, you need to meet that dog. Come on, long little do you the power of good. Ultimately, we can create the problems that we don't actually want. Mm-hmm. Some dogs will put up with it. Not all.
Yeah,
not all. That's what we need to remember. They need support.
Yeah.
Because, years ago, we used to be like latchkey dogs, didn't they? They used to, dogs would be off lead nearly all the time. And we didn't have any of the hassle that we do now. Not really.
No, that's interesting, because there's a lot of I've been coming across people, I'd probably say definitely of the older generation, that are like, why are dogs so much of a problem now? In my day, they weren't. They were never an issue. You never had behaviourists or trainers or all of this. So what, in your view or your experiences, what has changed?
We've taken away the choices. And I don't mean the choice of, I'll fancy going out to the day while my mum's gone to work. We've become a lot more into conditioning and controlling. When the dominance theory kind of like reared its head in the 90s, which I think is where a lot of this started to go really wrong. It's like, you need to be careful because when your dog's on the sofa, it's trying to take over your home. And if it's jumping up, it's being really dominant, and it needs to be told when to eat. As soon as we started to go down that road of telling the dog everything it needed to do, we built more stress in the dog. And as soon as that happened, they got more stressed, and then their behaviour has just got bigger and bigger and bigger about how to tell us, God, we're scared. Actually, we're really stressed, we're really scared, and we're just not understanding this. Not getting this at all. Yeah. And that's where it is. I mean, I think it was Meck who told us about the dominance theory in the 90s. He actually came out in 2009 and said, I got it wrong. He was big enough to say, do you know, I messed up.
Good.
But not everyone, but a lot of people are still going down that road. And it's rearing its head again. The people who, I had someone recently who has been told by a trainer that your dog is only fed if it's being good, and you feed it one biscuit at a time. I know. So it's like if your dog jumps up and it's excited to see you in the morning, you don't give it a biscuit. I know. And it's just like, and it goes through the whole day like that. So it was no surprise to me that I was called to the fact that this dog was getting bitten. This dog was biting the owners. I mean, and really badly. And I said, it's all the chemicals that are going on in the body as well. Plus the fact you're taking away a basic thing in the dog. The dog needs to feel safe. And if it's not fed and it has to perform like a seal, and God knows what on earth it's doing to get food, then you are creating enormous amounts of stress, and that's control. That's control, and that's why we're seeing more reactivity generally. Not always. We're in lockdown, which is weird. So that's
it is fascinating, because I was meaning to ask you about sort of the different decades and the different generations of dog owners and things like that, because somebody that's like in there, getting on a bit now, has got a dog, would have treated their dog completely different like 40 years ago, and how is that for you as someone that has to come out and deal with that behavior? Because obviously you've just given us one example of how that's bad. Is that across the board? Is half of your problems the owner rather than the dog?
Generally it is. And I don't say that with criticism or judgment. I mean, it is because everyone wants to do the right thing with their dog. So on that, they will look at all the groups and all the books and DVDs and all the programs, and they actually naturally think that because someone's on telly, then they're right, but actually they're not qualified. And then you've got people who are running different things, and they're maybe not as qualified as they lead you to believe. And it's an unregulated industry, and that's what people forget. I spent in total 3 years training, plus all the additional modules I've done, maybe on aggression, etc. There are others that have just trained online and done it. And that again, that upsets me, not because I think that's not fair, because I've trained for so long. I just think that's not fair on the people who have booked you because you've taken on a behaviourist or trainer title. And then you stand there, like I had someone the other day contact me just saying, I wonder if you could help me with my dog. It's reactive with other dogs when we're out. But I just need to ask you, if something goes on when you come out with me with the dog, what will you do? And I said, well, what do you mean? What will I do? And I said, I'll be working with the dog and I'll go through everything. So you won't leave me with my dog? No. And basically what happened to her is a trainer had gone out and just saw the dog kick off and just said, actually, I don't know what to do with this, and walked off and left her.
Oh, no way.
And that's the difference, and some will cobble it together. Some are just like, you just keep feeding the dog treats, but that doesn't always work. Well, it doesn't work. You're not dealing with the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
As I say, I never, ever criticize or judge anybody, because everyone loves their dog and is trying to do the right thing. And it's not their fault. It's not a regulated industry.
Yeah.
During lockdown, we've already discussed how it can affect a lot of dog owners and the way the dogs are behaving. Do you have like a couple of tips for people that are noticing a difference in their animal right now, and they're kind of a bit like, I don't know what to do? Is there any sort of tips you can give them during lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because it does depend on the behaviour. But my main thing is, if you think your dog is beginning to get a bit mouthy or jumping up more or doesn't seem to settle, those for me are just signs the stress hormones are just increasing a bit more. Because mouthing, it's not meaning it's aggressive. It's just for me, it's a help me kind of sign. I don't know what to do. I'm full of adrenaline ultimately. When you start to see things like that, I either reduce the walks. Say if some have been going out 3 or 4 times a day, I'm like, right, you take it down to once a day, maybe for 30 minutes, slow the pace of your walk down, but also be doing more things like chews, good quality natural chews, and treat searches and brain games, mental stimulation, because that will bring adrenaline and stress hormones right down. You know, chewing sounds like it's a nice thing to do. We all like to chew on something and to eat something. But it's actually the difference that it makes to the dog itself. When they chew, and this has been proven in people as well, when you chew for more than 10 minutes, you reduce your anxiety levels. This is humans tested as well as dogs. Your anxiety comes down, your stress levels come down, but your ability to focus and concentrate and cope goes up. So if you've got dogs that you think, my God, it's going completely bonkers and it's going a bit hyper, I'd be like, right, head to the shops or go online and then look for good quality chews. And it hasn't got to work for it. I don't make it sit for it. It's just like have them. And they need chews every day.
Yeah.
And so treat searches and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, like you say, isn't it? Because people don't necessarily think, they think like give them a treat. They've got to have done something to have a treat first, when it's like, actually, no, it's this way round. And following on from obviously Alex talking about lockdown, because obviously being in the industry, I know that there are some restrictions at the moment, you know, like puppy training classes aren't happening. So lots of puppies aren't getting socialised properly at the moment. Normal dog training classes aren't allowed to happen as such. I know that there are, you know, I know that outside one-to-one training can happen, but that's about it. But again, because you work with a lot of rescues, and I know that you get requests and sort of clients from all over the UK, and obviously you can't travel necessarily, you know, hundreds of miles to sort a dog out currently at the moment. So how are you making this work for your business and for owners where you can't actually get face-to-face with them at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, thank God we've got Zoom and online. All right, for the people who are really worried because the dog has bitten, particularly if there's children involved, that comes under welfare, and I can go. And as a behaviourist, I can actually go in the home. I mean, that's in writing now under the current law, so that's really good.
Excellent.
So that's not a problem. So I have a lot more flexibility than, say, your trainer who is literally one-to-one in a field and can't touch and everything. I am able to do more, but certainly I'm doing a lot more online, a hell of a lot more online. So I'll do one-to-one puppy sessions, put a course together, and I've got people from I've had Berkshire, Wiltshire, Somerset I've got at the moment, Worcestershire, up north, up in Northumberland. So I've got them from all over, all breeds, all types, all kinds of stuff going on. First time dog owners, or some that have not had a puppy for like 30 years, so they just need a refresher. Got that. And then and then other courses like the deaf dog one. I mean, that's worldwide. I mean, if I said to you at the moment, I didn't realise that was going to be quite such a big course, the deaf dog course. But I mean, I've got people, I've got the UK, I've got currently on this current one, Taiwan.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Holland and Germany and the UK.
Wow.
And I like platforms like India and America and Holland. Holland is just brilliant. They're always into understanding and learning about dogs. But I mean, just phenomenal. Yeah, phenomenal response.
This is probably quite good. Sorry, Al, go on.
No, you're on topic. I'm going to change
I was just going to say, that's actually probably very good for your business then, isn't it? Because that's something different that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do had the situations that are arising at the moment. Oh, wow, that is really...
It is. I mean, last year I was going to be going to France to work with deaf dogs there to do teaching, because they are very, very strict on how deaf dogs are handled, as are a lot of places. Well, and in this country, to be fair, if I was honest. But of course, that went out of the window. So it's made me look at doing things online. And then I'm looking at doing like webinars and seminars on different projects and different subjects. It's basically to help people. And people can always book to do like a one-to-one if they're just like, I've got a problem with this. Can you help me? And I will do what I can. I absolutely will do what I can. You know, it's just because of travel restrictions. You know, I can't go everywhere like I did before.
Yeah.
Where
can people get in touch with you, Caroline, to attach themselves to your service and stuff?
I suppose my main platform really is Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's under Help at Hand Dog Behaviour and Training. Or you've got, if you're interested in the deaf dog side, my other group is Deaf Not Difficult. So that's another dog training one. But I'm always kind of on there. Or you've got email, caroline1706@hotmail.co.uk. So,
nice.
Or phone. So I mean, as Jules knows, I mean, I do work every day. It's because I am incredibly busy at the moment, but it's just about providing support. We get worried we've got more dogs than ever.
Yeah.
And I actually think we understand them less than we've ever done before.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to condition something and mold it all the time, you're not listening to the dog anymore. And then you end up looking at each other going, well, here are you. I've got a clue. I don't know what you're doing. So, lots to be done.
Right. Well, look, this has been amazing speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'd like you to have an animal now, Alex. You start with a fish.
we've got fish. There's no pets allowed in our apartment, so I think that's the as far as we can push it. I mean, I grew up with dogs and cats and stuff, but we can't in the apartment. But it's a shame. I do like the idea of like I like the idea of the wanderer that's got the golden retriever or something. You know, walking along with them and traveling life through them, and I like those dogs that sort of grow old with their owners. I like the idea of that. You know, maybe one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, we are running out of time, but I've really this has been really, really interesting. I've learned so much. And I hope if any listeners are struggling with their dogs, people can just get in touch with you, Caroline, from Facebook. Yeah.
I always say if I don't get in touch straight away, it's only because I'm with somebody or I'm online. That seems to be the new way forward. I do miss seeing people face to face, though. I have to say, I'm just like, oh,
yeah. Who knows what's going to happen in 2021. I still believe it's going to be the year, by the way. 2021 is going to be the year. I still believe that. Optimistic.
Optimistic. Yeah.
Jules, have you got any questions before we go, or any comments?
No, I haven't. I mean, obviously, Caroline and I have worked together anyway, and Caroline's been helping me with one of my dogs. So I've learned a lot off of Caroline, just personally as well as professionally for my business. So, but I would strongly recommend if people are having issues at the moment to definitely contact Caroline. So
brilliant.
I suppose my aim is to try to give hope where people feel that they've run out of hope and that the only thing they can do is put in rescue or put to sleep. But it's also
don't do that, people. Don't do that. Don't put your dogs to sleep because you can't look after them. God, that's all.
No. But to put the compassion back in, we need to listen. We need to listen to the dogs, but also, like all professionals, we need to keep on listening to the owners. It's not their fault. They follow the advice that's out there, and a lot of the advice is very, very out of date and wrong, and on that point, dangerous. Then,
no,
Well,
it's definitely been a fascinating interview. So thank you very much indeed for your time, Caroline.
Oh, no trouble.
And Al, thank you as well. And like to do a shout out and a thank you to our sponsors, Web Orchard, who've built our website, which is where you'll also be able to listen to this podcast once it's been posted out by us through our Facebook page and through Instagram. So jump on the website to listen to this episode and all of the others today on our open day. So peace out, guys. Thank you.
All right. See you there.
Bye.